Hey, Joey. Yo.
There he is. All right, we got
Yeah,
a couple,
All right.
couple folks, and they'll start piling in here in the next few minutes. We got Doug and John so far.
Okay.
Overachievers coming in early.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Must have pressing problems.
No, Doug and John, you don't have pressing problems. You guys are excelling, right? Just as an FYI, we'll use chat for like just regular communication. But if you have specific questions, there's a Q&A section, and we'll address some of this here at 3 o'clock once everyone jumps on. 3 o'clock Eastern, that is.
I just got your text message.
Cool.
I'm here.
Glad you're here. I've not seen that part of your house before.
You know, this was my proper office, like that was secluded until my kids started stashing their Lego up here.
Solid.
So it has been covered in Lego for some time.
I wish
We
I had a
just
Lego
packed all
room.
that up. Yeah, it was the Lego room.
All right. I may need to promote everyone to panelist.
You have to be a panelist to talk.
Yeah, just so everybody can jump on video if they would like to. They do not have to, so I'm going to go ahead and start doing that. Scott. More. Although if we have more than 100 show up, then there we go.
Someone will have to be downgraded.
Yeah. The first to be downgraded will be Marty for sure. You guys are allowed to do video if you would like to. This is kind of like a hangout, happy hour. We will be drinking. There he is. What's up, Marty?
What's going on?
What's good, dude? Are you at home or are you at the office?
I'm at home, so all ready for this.
Tito's? Come on. Classy.
Let's go.
I'll feel like a pretentious douche then when I pull out my single barrel E.H. Taylor.
No, you are a pretentious douchebag, but that's all right.
All right, who else we
I'll
got?
stick with beer.
There you go.
Yeah, buddy.
What's the brewery market? How's that faring?
Right now, nobody knows what to do. I think that's like everybody, but they're pretty hard hit. They're doing a lot of takeaway. They're still in production. Production. Sorry, producer's a joke I used with somebody. I talked to a few. I mean, they're in the middle of trying to figure out shit. And it's weird because they don't have any guidance whatsoever.
Right.
So it's so foreign because you can't congregate. So that's kind of the whole thing with craft beer.
What's the rules in Philadelphia with, I guess you have clients everywhere, but in Philadelphia?
Yeah, we're like locked down in PA basically.
You are? Okay. I didn't know how that works in terms of, what's up, Amin? In terms of like deliveries or takeout, and like in Knoxville or Tennessee, they allow it now where you can actually do takeout.
Yeah, they allow that too.
Okay.
So it just depends on what each brewery wants to do. I don't see a problem yet. In a week or so, I see like bigger issues because they're going to have to lay people off and stuff like that, which they've a lot have done.
Yeah, no, it's been a bloodbath here in Knoxville. Because we have, from a population standpoint, I don't think we have one of the higher breweries per capita in the country, but when nobody's going out, it's not going to end super well. All right, there's 15 folks. I know we had like 60 or something sign up, so we'll keep letting them pile in for a few. You guys are welcome to do video and join in the chat and all that good stuff too. Amin, across the pond, how are you?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
It's good, man. It's been a hot minute. You're kind of frozen. At least it's a good look for you.
How you guys coping with Corona? Am I back on?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you are now. Yeah.
Corona's Corona here. It's a lot of folks are on lockdown. We're all pretty much quarantined in our house. What's up, Drew?
Not much.
How are
We've
you?
been doing Zoom all day and it's been crashing left and right. I think they're maxing out their bandwidth.
I would
Probably.
imagine this is a trying time for their servers. So,
That's a good test.
Jason Smith, what's up, man?
What's up, guys?
Hey, Jason.
How's everybody doing?
We are good. We'll get this rolling here in a minute. Did anyone actually, other than Marty, bring their own beverage?
All right.
You're just invisible, Alexander. Cool. We'll do a screenshot here in a minute. Once more people get on, we'll all do a cheers. Cheers to a try time.
I never drink in the afternoon.
No, I've gathered that about you. It starts in the morning.
Not at all. Yeah, exactly.
I need to go grab a beverage.
Yeah, go for it. We'll start probably the next 5 minutes. You guys are overachievers and on time and all that. Mike, where are you located?
Toronto, Canada,
Awesome.
All right.
in lockdown.
In lockdown. Alex,
Anyone else here from Canada?
Yeah, I'm from just an hour outside of Vancouver.
Cool. Yeah, I'm actually just an hour outside of Toronto.
Nice.
Okay.
You guys are under lockdown up there, hey? Like in Ontario area?
Ontario. Sorry, is he frozen? Alexander, where are you at? Where are you located?
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. I like your green screen. It's actually an actually pretty good one. Usually green screens are kind of cheesy. That one looks pretty decent. Oh, we got Steve just showed up. All right. Once we hit 25 in the room, we'll just get it rolling. So we'll be there shortly. Just as an FYI, like if you guys just want to chat / drop random comments, or if I ask a question to the group and you want to drop it into the chat, just do it in the chat section. But if you have like specific questions, there's a Q&A section, I believe. I think it's on your end. And I should be able to work down that list. You finally got the book, Amin? Good. Yeah. It's still hard to implement, but it's in practice good. Profit first. All right. John, what's up, man?
Yeah. That's right, Scott. Got to open a bunch of bank accounts is what he said. Profit first.
Yeah, it's true. I found that Aslo is a good catch-all bank. It's a virtual bank, but it allows you to do free transfers. So that's actually what we moved to for our catch-all revenue account. All right, what's up, Steve?
Hey, how we doing?
Good. How's you're in Charlotte, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
it's a dreary, rainy day here.
Yeah, likewise here.
Great day to be quarantined.
Yeah. Is the whole Venveo team sidelined?
Yeah, we've been home all week.
Cool.
How's that going?
Well, we're used to it. So on our side, we're pretty well used to that. We do most of our meetings are Zoom meetings, so it's not new to us. We actually are finding ourselves doing a lot of teaching this week and helping people get on Zoom and things like that. Although I did notice that a lot of people have been having issues with Zoom today
Crashing.
and connecting to Google accounts and everything like that. It's a lot of crashing going on. So
Interesting. If it crashes, we will, how about you guys write this down, or I'll put it in the messages. If this room specifically crashes, we will go to tribeprospecting.com/Zoom, and that'll just be a different room. I just dropped that in the chat. That's just a standing room we have for events like this.
That's our bug out location when shit hits the fan.
That's right.
That's right.
That's exactly right. All right. Let's just get it rolling. And we got 20. There should be another 30 or 40 that said they'd show up, but they may not. I don't know the actual attendance rate on webinars. So this isn't necessarily meant to be a webinar as much as a happy hour. So I kind of mentioned in the emails and on LinkedIn a little bit kind of what the goal here is. I don't want this to be me talking to you guys or Ian talking to you guys, and we'll do intros here in a second. But as much as I want this to be conversation, I want to be as helpful as possible. I know this is trying times for a lot of businesses, and obviously, the encouraging thing is there's opportunity in chaos. But I think too, there's also a reality of some folks it's pretty tough. So we want to address specific questions and walk through any scenarios that we might be able to help with. Or this is not the Tribe Prospecting Show. If you guys have feedback, this is meant to be kind of a round table, if you will, collective where we can all benefit one another. So we will talk about some specific tactical things and some strategic things that are working on our end and have worked on our end, especially as a lot of you guys are sidelined and maybe have not done remote selling or have not had to manage remote teams and stuff like that. Obviously, Tribe is a fully remote operation, and we have been since the inception of the company, but there's pros and cons to it, but there's a lot of upsides. So we can talk about some of that. All right, so let's just start with out the gate. I think I want to start on a positive, encouraging thing. I think it is a trying time, and I want to be very aware of that. But I think too, it's just an incredible opportunity for us to be reminded of what is most important, and I don't want to get all soppy and weird, but just like friends and family, and even for me, Marty's laughing. So for me, I think even like last week, so I found out my brother-in-law who had stage 4 cancer and it went away for a year, like it came back. Last week we found out. And so I think it puts a lot of things in perspective of like, yeah, that shit has hit the fan and it does suck in a lot of degrees, but we find ourselves very fortunate as well that we do get to run businesses or be leaders in businesses. And we had the opportunity to solve a problem. The fact that we even have a problem right now that we get to work through is a blessing for a lot of us. So I think it's always good to keep that frame of mind that we are super feedback. I don't know where that's coming from. That we are fortunate. So we're also fortunate that in chaos and in times like these, we do have opportunity. And while some people are sitting on their hands, we're here trying to solve problems. And this is the time to gain market share. This is the time to stand out to your existing clients and really focus on retention. One thing, even though my company and Ian's company is focused primarily on acquisition, we would say we value retention over acquisition any day long or all day long. So this is an opportunity for you to really serve clients, benefit folks outside of the normal scope, and potentially have them for a long time, just how you serve them now. So just as an intro, I actually want to, since we have a small enough crowd so far, let's just do a quick intro, just who you are, where you're located, and what your company does. Don't get too long-winded. I'll start with me, since that would make the most sense. I'm Joey. As most of you know, I run Tribe. Ian, at least in my screen, to my left, is my partner and my COO because I am trash at operations, always have been. And so he is my yin to my yang, as cute as that is. I would like, Ian, if you can go next. And after that, I'll just say your name. And then if you want to talk, you can. If you're in a place where you can't, then just say no. So go ahead, Ian.
Ian Crawford, COO of Tribe. And the only thing I'll add is just to sort of reiterate or expand what Joey's talking about. Like our motivation for doing this is we've been, it seems like a lot of people, even as Steve mentioned earlier, are working remotely for the first time, or maybe are trying to transition business development to remote workers for the first time. And this is stuff that we've been doing for years. And so we know that this is a massive disruption, and some industries are already projecting that, 15 to 30% of the small businesses in their particular industry are not going to survive this. And so we thought, hey, well, let's get together and just put it on the table. Like if people have questions and it's something we can answer, then we'll do our best. But we also know that we don't have all the answers, and that there's a lot of people here who probably have better answers than us. So we just wanted to facilitate, get a group together, allow people to come forward and talk about whatever situation that they're in, and see if we can help.
Yep.
So thanks for joining us.
Yep. Great addition. Marty, why don't you start us since you're my first screen?
Cool. Hey, everybody. My name is Marty McDonald. I am co-founder and CEO of Bad Rhino Social Media. Well, it's really a digital marketing agency. We've been in business for 10 years. I've been doing marketing in one way, shape, or form for the past 17, mostly online. And, just to echo, everything that was just said, I think the things when people get together, they can talk about experiences. I was on a call desk when I was a recruiter right after 9/11, and then 2008 was a blast. These things kind of pass, but this is slightly uncharted territory. So I think anything that anybody can toss out there is always good in times like these, and just help each other out and see where we go from here.
Yep. Love it. Oh, also, let's do this while we're at it, since we just started it. What is it folks are sipping? If you do have a drink, and you did BYOB, which was an encouragement, what is everyone actually drinking? I'll start. So this is actually my favorite bourbon of all time. It is E.H. Taylor Single Barrel. It comes in a sweet little tube. But that is my go-to, my favorite. E.H. Taylor Single Barrel Bourbon. Ian, you're not drinking, are you?
I am. Yeah, I got a Stella, but it's in a Nat's koozie. Of course I am. Which anything in a Nat's koozie is great.
Love it. Marty, go ahead.
Cool. I'm drinking Daisy Cutter from Half Acre. It's a craft brewery out of Chicago.
Love it. Cool. All right, next on my screen, Mike.
My name's Mike Giamprini. I'm up here in Toronto, Canada. I've spent the better part of my career working for various online directories. Back in September, I created a company called Real Local Partners. We've grown a network of work-at-home sales professionals in the media space, and the majority of what we sell is online presence, digital marketing solutions for hyperlocal small businesses.
Love it.
And I'm only drinking water this afternoon.
Amen. The body's made of it.
Yeah.
I respect it. Amen.
Okay, hey guys, my name is Aman. I'm from London. My connection is unstable, so I don't know if you're hearing me properly. I run an app development company called Didgeridoo based in London. We help growth stage companies to increase their profits by up to 60% by maximizing brand engagement and building brand loyalty through mobile apps. And I'm drinking water because I wanted to show off our new bottles, and because I'm training at the moment, so I have to keep up training and stay off the booze for a little while.
What are you training for?
Sorry?
What are you training for?
Well, I tore the ACL in my left knee, so I have to strengthen it, and surgery is pretty much off the table at the moment. So.
I like it. Cool. All right, Alexander.
Hey guys, I'm Alex. I'm located here in Brooklyn, New York. I run a digital marketing agency. We're focused mostly on B2B lead gen, and just here to listen, advise, help any way possible. Drinking some red wine, Pinot Noir.
Jason Smith, my man from Spotlight.
What's up, guys? Jason Smith. I'm about an hour north of Los Angeles, and yes, we are on lockdown too. I own and run a full service Facebook ad agency. And in light of everything going on, if anybody needs help with Facebook, please reach out. Let me know. I'd be more than happy to help any way we can. So
one of the best in the world.
Yeah, we're pretty damn good. So I may not look that smart, but I kind of know what I'm doing with Facebook ads. So
humble.
So if anybody needs anything, just please reach out. Let me know. I'm more than happy to help any way I can. So
yeah, he's killer. Marcus.
Sorry, I got myself off mute there. You can all hear me there?
Yep, you're good.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm based about an hour outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And I work with a private equity real estate investment group. So we operate a fund where we work with groups of retail and institutional investors, and then we acquire and manage multifamily properties across Western Canada. So that's a little bit about what we're doing. Oh yeah, and then the drink. I'm still on my coffee.
There you go. I guess you're 3 hours. It's lunchtime for you.
Lunchtime, yeah.
You got to hit that afternoon lull. Steve at Charlotte.
Yes, Steve Coffey, and I am the Director of Growth at Vinvio, and we do building materials marketing. So we basically help building materials manufacturers sell better. Typically that means a digital space. So a lot of what we do is we're full service digital agencies is what we are. So we've been in that space for about 16 years. So that's what I do. And I will listen to anything that Joey says. So that's why I'm here. Anything. And I'm drinking water.
Love it. Cool. I wouldn't listen to anything. Marty'd probably tell you that. John, I'm trying to think. You're not in Singapore, are you? You're on mute.
Okay. I'm from Philippines.
Oh, that's right, Philippines.
Yeah. I'm
Samuel.
John Gleason. I'm the VP for Business Development of 611. So we've been in a BPO space for 15 years now, having 4 offices granted and more than 4,500 people under 4 sites. So any business development for outsourcing for BPOs, I'm just here to listen and may probably advise something that is good for everyone.
Awesome. Cool, man. Chris.
Hey everyone, Chris Lukowski, Dominant Digital Agency. I'm based here in Denver, Colorado. I specialize in basically marketing for small businesses that are local to Denver and Colorado here. We do SEO and Google Ads and things like that. I'm drinking water today because it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but I'll be switching over to a Guinness that I have my name on in the refrigerator in a few hours.
There you go. Responsible of you. David, my man David.
How's it going? David Mohammed. I'm also, sorry, Joey. I was asking how you're doing.
Oh, I'm good, man.
All right. Awesome. So I'm also in Denver. I have a search marketing consultancy, and we do a lot of web analytics too, and digital strategy. And I'm mostly here just to listen and learn.
Cool. Love it.
Oh, I forgot my drink. It's Nespresso Melozio coffee.
Bougie.
And I'm running out, so hopefully it lasts before they, if they can get me some more sometime soon.
There you go. Drew, Nimble Toad, what's up?
Yeah, hi, I'm Drew from Nimbletoad. We started back in 2008 during the last crisis, and I figured no better time than this crisis to rebrand and shift the name over to Barrels Ahead.
Dude, I love that name.
Why not have an identity crisis right now? So yeah, we're Barrels Ahead now. We do winery direct consumer marketing, also work with other craft distilleries and breweries. My drink of choice right now is I've got Malahat Single Barrel Cask Strength. They're a local San Diego distiller. Excellent single barrel bourbon. So, well, not a technical bourbon, but awesome if you can get your hands on a bottle.
What was the distillery, or what was the?
It's Malahat. They're a San Diego
Oh, cool. Love it.
distiller. They do a lot of collaborations with some breweries. Marty, you probably know about them with the San Diego craft movement.
Nice. Cool. Scott Johnson.
Hey guys, Scott here, Key Marketing. I live up in rural Washington, looking out on a sheep pasture out my office window here, and been doing this about 5 years. Our expertise is really the industrial sector, manufacturers, distributor. The bluer the color, the better, as we like to say. I was drinking a Diet Cherry Pepsi, but I felt like a pussy, so I switched over to Sierra Nevada. So, cheers.
Pale ale, I like it. Ben Childs already dropped a line in the comments. He's drinking a red ale. Ben?
I'm here. I'm drinking a, let's see, Pelican Brewery Irish Red Style Ale. I drink it in a Yeti because I am working in my future daughter's future bedroom. So just in case I get walked in on, I want to stay congruent, saying everything's fine during the recession to my wife, and I'm not drinking right now. And what do I want to get on this? I don't know. I just enjoy hanging out and listening. I'm in a Jason Swank group. Marty McDonald kicked the living shit out of me for a sales hire a while ago, and it's very useful. And I learn his rant stays with me to this day. So I just enjoy being here and listening.
Nice.
I'm sorry I scared you.
Sounds like
I think they call it scared straight.
All good, Ben.
That's awesome. I want to hear the rant one day. Ben, sorry, where'd you say you were from, or where you're at?
Portland, Oregon. I moved out of downtown San Francisco about 6 months ago, and I thank God every day now.
The massive exodus that is coming out of California. I left San Diego 6-7 years ago. Joe Fox just turned off his video, so maybe he doesn't want to introduce himself. So if he doesn't, then Seth Brown, you're up.
Hey, how's it going, guys? So I'm less than a year into digital marketing. I'm based out of Pittsburgh. The name of my business is Surge SEO. So we basically focus on SEO, PPC, and reputation management for home service contractors. And I'm just here to listen and learn.
Cool. Love that you guys are telling me why you're here. I didn't ask that, but thanks. Totally kidding. Joe, go ahead. Go again now that you're back.
Sorry, call was coming in there. Hey guys, Joe Fox, based in Knoxville, Tennessee. Main work is in real estate development and sales. And I'm also in the industrial hemp industry. And I'm just here because Joey's a guy I like to have a happy hour cocktail with from time to time. And why not? We're all holed up in our homes. So social interaction is desperately needed right now.
Are you in the Fountain City home?
I'm in the Fountain City home. Yeah.
Right. You'll have to come by the new office soon. I'm sitting in it. Last person that I see on video is Chris Clark. Oh, just kidding. Juliet's now on. But Chris, go ahead. Juliet, you go next.
Hey there. I am an owner of a company called Forward Media. We're a digital media agency. I'm out of central Canada, but we have an office down in Phoenix as well. And here to just sort of hear what other people are doing in this time as we all try to keep and acquire new clients as we go.
Great. Juliet, you're on mute, by the way. Still on mute, but that's okay.
Sorry about that. I didn't realize the mute was on. Hi, everyone. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. And I joined this webinar because I'm actually really curious about your guys' sales services, even though I may not be able to actually, I don't know if I'll be able to get new clients right now. It's something I'm really interested in for the future, and I'd like to start thinking about it and like learning from you guys in terms of how you guys go about it. I'm kind of you know, I've got a very good client that was a project that was supposed to go ahead right before all this happened. That was like a massive project that's been put on hold, and I'd love to get more of those kinds of clients in the future. So, so just really want to learn from you guys in terms of your knowledge about sales.
Great. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, the last one we have, and I'm going to sound ignorant trying to say it, but Shahram? Close. Your audio is not working. You're not muted either, so maybe might be a mic thing.
All right. Hi guys, able to hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
All right. Hi guys, I'm Sriram. I'm co-founder of a company called Dave.ai. I'm calling you guys from India.
Nice.
We are an artificial intelligence platform. We're trying to help brands create digital experiences, both online and offline. So predominantly work with retail. So most of our clients are amidst, the crisis currently, and we're trying to set up a process to sell online. And that's why I'm here, and I'm drinking an Indian whiskey called Amrut. This is highly rated, actually rated as the third best whiskey by Jim Murray. So if you guys come to this part of the world, you should try this.
Very cool. Love it. And then Jill, you just joined us. Looks like you might have called in on the phone.
Yeah, I'm on the phone. I'm Jill Manty. I own Manty Web. We do web development, especially in WordPress, but more third-party application integrations than just building marketing websites. We've been working from home the entire time we've been in business, 11 years. We also homeschool and have for 20 plus years. So those of you who need homeschooling advice, happy to tell you how to not do it. Our team's always been remote. So in a lot of ways, this has been pretty much business as usual, except 100% totally not for us.
Minus the clients who are not remote.
Yeah, well, all of our clients have always been remote. So that's actually true. And we're okay so far. We've not been hit really hard. And we're very, very fortunate that that's the case, and we hope it holds. But I'm here because I use these webinar gatherings with groups of people to fight back the panic of what happens when all that starts to change. So it's good to be around other people and hear what everybody else is doing, and that the world's not actually ending.
Yes, that's right. It's not ending. It's changing, which is a good thing sometimes for a lot of us. I think a lot of companies pivot and birth new ideas, or even birth new companies out of these down market, bear markets. So cool. Well, thank you all for joining. I think it's just humbling that you guys want to take your time and hang out and listen to other folks who have opinions and submit to other folks who maybe have figured some things out in these times. So if you guys weren't here at the beginning, again, I just want to empathize a little bit. These are tough times for a lot of companies, maybe even some of you on this call. And so we're aware of that. And, I think that right now is an incredible opportunity to take advantage of opportunities. And I think that, amidst chaos, there's a lot of folks who need your help. I know there's an 85% probably in this room right now are agency related to some degree. So you're on the growth side of companies. You guys serve a big role in markets like these. So, I don't know if you want to have anything to kick off specifically. I just think, from our perspective, a couple things we want to do is just talk about things that have worked for us. As we have been a fully remote outsourced sales organization now for 4 or 3 years. And prior to that, I've pretty much been a remote high ticket type of salesperson for my entire career. So I think for me, one thing that I want to emphasize now is there's different camps, right? And there's 3 different camps in my opinion. There's people who are sitting back and doing nothing, waiting. There's the folks who are doing something, but they're taking advantage of the fear. And there's folks who are expressing empathy. And those are the folks who are going to gain market share and win. One thing that we coined, if you will, is what we call empathy-driven sales. is exactly what it sounds like. We are driven by placing ourselves in the position of our prospects and of our market, of our industry, of our clients, and that can trickle down to how you treat employees and stuff like that as well. But I think now more than ever, there's an opportunity at hand to express empathy, and that can be a buzzword. So if you guys don't know what that means, I can explain it, but it's really just the ability to place yourself and feel and experience and understand the position that other people are in. And so how that plays itself out in the sales process is really diving into the people behind the businesses that we sell to. That's as basic, elementary as I can break it down. I think it's important to know. I think that at the end of the day, we do business with people. And right now specifically, there is a lot of people who are affected by this, and we can come in and actually deploy that empathy and serve them, but also benefit our businesses and keep us afloat, if not allow us to thrive in these times. So, Ian, would you add anything to that before I jump into some other specific things and then we start answering some specific questions?
Not specifically. I mean, I think, first of all, JP's got a question in chat about if there's a recording going on. He's got to jump. So,
yeah, I'm going to be careful we are going to record. And I'm going to be careful with it. If people talk about sensitive things, then we'll cut that stuff out and send it to you specifically. But yeah, we will record this. It's already recording this whole session. So if there is anything sensitive that we do talk about, whether it's internal business things for people who are struggling or something proprietary you want feedback on, then we'll cut that out and send it to you individually. But yes, you got to run.
All right. Yeah, so I do want to let's keep it focused on open forum so people can ask specific questions. Mm-hmm. Maybe to kick off, I've got a couple of questions for people based on their interviews, just to see what they're seeing in their industries. I've heard rumors, but I don't know if you have anything else to add before we do that, then now's the time.
I think that me sitting here and just teaching out the gate is not ideal. I'd rather have people ask questions, and I think a lot of teaching and other people's feedback will come through that.
All right. So let's actually, Jason Smith, if you're willing, what are you seeing in Facebook ads? I mean, this is last week. So the overall trend that we're seeing is like last week, especially, people were just completely gone, right? Nobody knew what to do. No one's answering emails. No one's like interacting practically. This week starting to pick up again, but it's still well below normal. So it seems like, people are beginning to adjust. We expect that to continue at some level. But as people are making radical moves, even like big corporations, hearing things like, Amazon stopped running pay-per-click ads, that certain keywords on Facebook have fallen to an all-time low in their bid prices, things like that. So Jason, I don't know if you're seeing that kind of thing, but like I'd like to get, if anybody has input on that, who has real numbers or real expertise, that's better than just people talking about it.
I know Jason does for sure. He shared that graphic from Facebook itself.
Yeah. So most of our clients, I think except for one client, most of our clients are up by about 40% in sales, actually. I've had about half of our clients come to me in the last couple of days and say it's even worse. It's been better than Black Friday, actually. So prices are actually super low. I know the graphic I shared in our group in the Jason Swank Mastermind, Facebook presence is up 53%. Instagram presence is up 36%. It's really just because people are home. And what we found is even though people don't really have money, they're still buying. And obviously depends on which, we have a lot of in-home, online stores, obviously for e-commerce, but they're buying a lot of fitness stuff right now, right? Or anything that has to do with home. We have a really big company that manufactures custom bumpers for trucks, and they're crushing it right now because all these guys are buying bumpers to have a project in the garage to do. Right. So I think it depends on which industry you're in, but I mean, all of our clients across the board have been it's crazy right now. I mean, we even have we have a really big brand that does like kids journals, and they're up like 70% in sales because everybody's at home right now and they want their kids to have something to do. So I'm just been really fortunate, and we have clients that are coming out of the woodwork trying to like work with us again, which is great. So yeah, and then costs on Facebook are down. The more people that are on at any one given time, the less you're going to pay. Cost per click, click-through rates, CPAs, like all that stuff. So the only thing you have to really watch out for is, what you're optimizing for really on Facebook, because you don't want a lot of clicky people, because there's a lot of idiots out there who just want to click, like, and comment and act stupid and either that or bash your product or whatever. So mitigate that. Other than that, yeah, things are great actually on Facebook and Instagram. So
what would you say? So most of the folks in here are service-based companies. What would you say the advantage is, or the opportunity might be for a service company on Facebook from an advertising standpoint? Is there one?
I think just like offering some services right now would be good. You're a service-based business, right? Offer something to a client. I know Drew was offering kind of like an e-commerce accelerator type thing for for companies that need it. Or maybe it's time to like reinvent some of your other services that you've all wanted to do before. I think that could be a huge thing right now too, kind of reinvent your brand. I know Drew's going through that right now, but yeah, that could be something advantageous for you right now for your brand. So
yeah, I'm even thinking like specifically to like Joe Fox, like your brand when it comes to CBD and hemp. Like, how is it that you take advantage of? Obviously, you have a retail presence, which you guys have been trying to push into, which is obviously challenging right this second. But is there a way to pivot and do something that's more direct to consumer with what you do? Hey, Jason, what's the Facebook rules and regulations on like advertising for hemp or CBD? Is there?
Yeah, we used to run quite a few hemp CBD stuff. You can, as long as there's no purchase activity mentioned in your Facebook ad copy, like go here and buy, then you can inform all you want about CBD and hemp, how great it is for your body, how it can help you with sleep and whatever. But you just can't say go here and purchase. You'd have to send them to like maybe a Facebook group first or some other page, and then once they're off Facebook, you can then send them and tell them to purchase. So anything around that you can do. And if anybody needs help with that, just reach out. I can kind of give you some pointers on that stuff too. So
yeah, we've seen I just checked in, it was 134% increase in the last 48 hours on our site traffic. So we try to cut all the bullshit out of CBD. Every gas station, every grocery store, every smoke shop, every vape shop has a CBD brand these days, right? I get it. So, we try to tell a little bit more of an authentic story with our brand. We've seen, 134% increase in traffic to our site. And then we're converting those to sales, which is great. So obviously we're going to see a lot more folks shopping from home these days.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it's about, there's a major gap that we now have with our store not being open. And while it's fantastic, we're seeing more traffic online. It's not taking place of that lost revenue from the store. So just trying to find any creative way we can to really amp up traffic to the site to make up for that lost revenue.
Are you running any Facebook or Instagram ads right now for it?
So we've finally reached a point where we're comfortable running those Facebook ads. It's been so uncertain on any sort of social media ads, and we've seen so many folks that have multi-million-dollar marketing budgets on a monthly basis getting cease and desist letters from the FDA. It's a wild industry for you to have a product that you want to sell and there's massive demand for it, but you'll get shut down by the FDA and get cease and desist letters if you make any claim whatsoever for any health claims. So we finally got to a point where we're comfortable starting to roll that out, but we are currently not doing any social media advertising at this point, but we will be moving forward.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, as long as you keep it around what you said before, like story, telling a story around, hemp CBD stuff, should be fine on Facebook. There shouldn't be any problems. And if you need help on ad copy, let me know. I can be more than glad to help you guys out.
I'll take all the help we can get. This is a strange industry to be in, man. It's
yeah, we run a lot of CBD hemp ads for a lot of doctors, like chiropractors who have are in the industry, and I mean we're generating some really hefty revenue for them. So as long as you do it right. I mean, we have a partner manager that we talk to, and I can send her the ads first before we launch them to make sure we're not getting shut down or anything. So if you even wanted to like add me to your ad account just so you have access to like my partner manager, be willing to do that too, so.
Awesome. Love that. Yeah. Shareholders are eager to see an uptick in sales right now.
For sure.
They've also done what I think is the most, I would say, from that industry perspective, they went way upstream and went for the premium, let's get away from the pot leaf type of CBD look, and they went far more like clean white glass bottle with blue label. It's a very premium product. So
well, thank you.
Cool. Y'all should of course, y'all should connect. Jason is legitimately, I'm not just saying because he's my friend, but Jason's one of the best in the world. So let's see, Scott, you asked Jason, what sort of starting ad budget on Facebook would you suggest for an agency?
Yeah, I know it's a super broad question that you can't really answer, but like, let's just say an agency, like someone on here, we're just looking to dabble, like, can you do something with $1,000 a month, or are you, wasting your money if you're starting off at that level?
Really depends on your ending price point. Really, if you have a $2,000 price point that someone needs to purchase at the end, then it's probably not going to work spending $1,000. You need to probably spend more, but if it's a low dollar price point that you're getting out there, if it's just like, brand awareness or content or something, you could spend $1,000 and, it's kind of a loaded question because I get asked that a lot, but you can't, and it really depends. Like I could probably get a lot more out of $1,000 than you could, right, from Facebook, just because I know what I'm doing. But I mean, you could do something with 1,000. I mean, I try to do the max budget you possibly can. And again, think about your end goal. Like, what is your end goal? Is it to drive leads? And, is the lifetime value of a lead, 10 grand? If that's the case, then $1,000 just not going to cut it. You gotta spend more than that. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. We were thinking of dabbling in, Google ads, Facebook ads, and a few things and kind of seeing what works, but it sounds like it's better to go all in on one, maybe for a few months, see how it goes, and then pivot if we need to.
Yeah. Because I mean, if you're doing it for your agency and then you want to talk to people and you want to charge them $1,500 in an agency fee, let's say, to lowball it to work with them, you can pay a couple $100 for a lead, right? But you're going to have to spend more than $1,000 in a month to get those people and to get better qualified people in the funnel.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Great. All right. I don't think Rob Hall is on the call, but he had a question, and he said, how do you prospect in a time like this? What messaging works? So the messaging component, that's the empathy driven sales part. I think when you put yourself in the position of where these backtrack. So first and foremost, defining how we do our process. And if you guys have been following us for any length of time, you kind of understand what we do and how we do it and the types of results we've gotten. But a lot of the success comes from doing things distinctly different. So a lot of times people, when it comes to sales, are doing a volume play, right? So they're taking their total addressable market, right? So if we look at the total addressable market, and let's just say you have 10,000 people in your total addressable market, essentially means the addressable part of your market that you can sell to. It's a fairly large number usually. And so what the typical process looks like is it goes total addressable market. You do generic segmentation. So you segment that market. Let's say there's 10,000 people, you can sell to 7,000 of them. Maybe you segment those 7,000 into groups of 500. The traditional way is you segment them into groups of 500, you create a campaign or two for each one of those segments, and then you do mass outreach to those segments. It's personalized to the segment, but it's not personalized to the accounts within those segments. Where we have found success, and where I think that this is an opportune time for people to start adapting this approach, an account-based approach, is instead of looking at it from a market standpoint or from even a segment standpoint, start looking at prospecting at the account level. So if you think through if you could define your dream accounts, and this is more B2B, we can talk B2C strategies too, but in the B2B space, and a lot of us here sell high ticket products or services, or even like Joe, where you sell, maybe $79 CBD, but you also sell like large bulk to different places. Like that would be considered high ticket. So when we're considering our approach, I think it's important to realize that in order to accomplish empathy-driven sales, you can't deploy empathy to a segment of people, right? Because everyone's different. Everyone has different problems, different pain points, and different goals. And so I think it really comes down to the deep intelligence and research work that it takes to do this, right? Like Jason's going through our accelerator program right now. Jason, how complex is the intelligence diving deep into the data side of things?
You really want me to answer that?
Yeah, go for it.
It's crazy, actually. I mean, you guys are teaching me stuff that I never even thought would even be relevant, but then once I do the research and once I'm actually diving into it, I'm like, oh shit, I get it now. Right. So yeah, I'm like chomping at the bit to do outreach, and they're like, no, dude, not yet. We got to do more. We got to get your playbook going. Like, and I'm like, why can't I send a damn message?
Everyone's like, just hit go on the automation tool and let's see what comes back. I think.
Yeah. But no, yeah, it's super in depth, and I'm loving it so far.
So the importance of it is at the account level, especially when we're selling high ticket services, sometimes there's multiple key decision makers or key influencers in the decision. If you guys haven't read a book called Challenge Your Customer, highly suggest that. It's all about identifying and finding influencers in the decision, the people who are important to the decision but don't actually make the decision. And that can get pretty in depth, and we don't have to get there today. Also, by the way, I think we're going to do this on a weekly basis. That's just like an open office. So you guys can drop in with any questions you have on a weekly basis, especially as we're working through, this shitstorm of a crisis. So always bring your ideas and questions and all those type of things. But when we're looking at the account-based approach, it starts with the top level, defining your profile, right? So we talk about ideal customer profiles and all those type of things. I think get even more granular than that. We call it a dream client profile, a DCP. Really hone in on who it is you serve. If you don't know who you serve, you're not going to know how to serve them. And so start with the DCP, that dream client profile. And that profile is what's going to be the basis for all of your research and intelligence gathering, which is going to make your life way easier. So in the traditional way of doing things, people are doing outreach to thousands of people, right? Here at our organization, we do outreach to like 15 accounts a month for our clients. That's it. Because you can go after 1,000 people and convert at 1%, or you can go after 15% or 15 people and convert at 50 to 60%. And your results are going to be far more quality, far more upstream. You're not going to damage your brand.
So Joey, can I interject real quick?
Yup.
So the key is, like, in order to do the empathy driven sales process that we're talking about, is you have to have a relationship. And the premise is you can't build relationship at scale. Like it's inherently disingenuous, right?
You can build brand at scale. You can't build relationships.
Exactly. And so that's also, like, what Jason said earlier is incredibly key. He was talking about Facebook and about a budget for Facebook ads, but it's exactly right. You have to think from the end first. So, like, what do you want out of this process first? And what is the offer on it? And then you can work back to see whether this is the right approach, or there are certain cases where the more mass market broadcast-based approach is appropriate. The problem that we see all the time is that people say, oh, well, this is how Facebook themselves acquires customers, or this is how Dropbox acquires, like they have some example in a business book that they read, and they go, therefore, that's how I should do it. And it's just the wrong strategy. So they go execute it, and they don't get the results that they were looking for, and they double down on it, ironically, by controlling costs at the front end. So like if your first campaign doesn't work, then you go, well, now I need to reach more people. So I go and make a more generic campaign and try to reduce my cost per lead or whatever metric it is that you're going to target. And then it actually works less and less well. So it becomes a self-fulfilling problem where you go, well, it didn't work, therefore I can invest less in it, and therefore it works less well the next time. And then it's just a spiral downward. So we approach it from the opposite side, starting with relationship. And the process that Joey's talking about, the entire premise of it is you have to have a relationship before you can demonstrate empathy, because fundamentally that empathy is understanding their problem, their situation, and then even deciding whether or not you can help in the first place. So oftentimes we build the best relationships by saying, hey, you know what, I don't think that we're a great fit for you. We don't know that until we've got a relationship and we've spent a lot of time digging into their problem and their situation.
That's right. I think it's also a good way to look at it, just to boil it down in very simple terms, like the traditional way of doing sales or prospecting in this market, or any market for that matter. The traditional way is it's that funnel approach, right? It starts super wide at the top. There's a lot of the total addressable market we can go after. We're going to go after all of them, and we're going to see who comes out the bottom. That's approach that most people take. I would say that's not a very sustainable, and it's a recipe for a disaster of a client book of business. Instead, what we say is, who do we want to go after instead? And so you actually select the actual accounts you want to go after. So instead of it being people select us, it turns into a conversation about we select you. And I think that's if you want to gain market share in this marketplace, we have to take that approach of we have the leverage in the conversation. The only way you can have leverage is by truly understanding. And the only way you can truly understand is by having a relationship. The only way you have a relationship is through empathy. So I think it's incredibly important to remember, or not to remember, but to change our thinking of this mass outreach is going to yield some sort of conversion. And that's going to be our client base. Instead, to change your thinking on, no, who do I want to fill my book of business with specifically? And then how do I take an account-based approach, account by account, to how we go after them? So do we have any questions before I keep talking? Is that even helpful to keep going that way? Or do you guys have more specific questions you want to go after?
Joey, can I ask a quick question?
Yep.
So, when you said, this is something that I've been struggling with for a while, which actually, I've spoken to you in the past about it as well, is that, do you more take an approach of, hey guys, who do you want to work with? Or do you take more, in terms of any company, or do you take an approach of who do you want to work with within this specific niche?
That's a good question. So the way that we look so the answer is, I think niching is incredibly important. Niching is also, and I realize that in this marketplace, niching is also a challenge right now, because if you go after the hospitality space, not looking so great. But that doesn't mean that in a good market, that's not a great place to put your time and money. But I think when it comes to niching down, there's two ways to look at niching. There's either you niche from a vertical standpoint, meaning industry specific or specific, target within a niche or within an industry, or there's horizontal, which is we do something very, very specific as a company. And so like Jason is very, very specific. He only does Facebook and Instagram advertising. That's all he does. And the reason he can continue to win business is because he's become a specialist at that one or two things. So I think it's defining the accounts that either fit your vertical or horizontal niche. In ideal cases where you can really excel is if you have both. If you have both that vertical and horizontal niche, it's really hard to get to that place, but I think it's a valuable place to be if you can find yourself there. So having
sorry, Karen.
I would add to that in addition to your positioning, so we have a model that we use called the 4 fits, right? So your positioning is only really one of those corners. And then the fit is making sure that all of those pieces are aligned. That's way too complex to get into right now. But the significance is, like, in terms of you selecting which accounts that you want to target, you need to start with your business goals and then figure out which types of deals are going to yield the economics that you want. and then you figure out how you convert those deals. Then you figure out where the traffic comes from, right? So who are the accounts that you then want to target? So if you work in that direction, then you can choose among your things like your position. You might say, you know what, we could be vertically positioned in this industry, but it's impossible for us to get a deal that would help us achieve our business goals, or we could get all the clients we want and it actually would not move us toward our goals because those, they would be, the lifetime value would be too low or something like that. So we're going to eliminate this particular niche. So we do a lot of like, it's really strategic. And when you're targeting so few accounts, you mostly eliminate rather than try to add and try to increase the size. You want to find out and that's why we call it a dream client profile. You really want to, like, whoever it ends up being, if you land one of those, it's going to cause your business to have a leap forward, not just a bump in revenue, for instance.
Yep.
I love that. I've never actually thought about it that way, that which account do I need to help my business grow, basically. I've never, ever actually thought about it that way. We've actually, just everything you guys are discussing, we've just put all of that into our inbound, which is finally, after like 4 years of being in business, Joey knows my struggles, finally it's starting to work, which is amazing. When I say we put it into our inbound, we started adding qualification processes and just really sifting out the people who we don't want to work with. And we focused on a specific niche, which was app development. We forgot everything else, website development, everything else we forgot about it. We're focusing purely on B2B market. And that's working now in the inbound, but we're about to start our outbound, and that's really, really useful. If there's anything I've got out of that, that's probably the killer for me. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that's like, so the generic version of it is people, because of the funnel metaphor and because of different industries and direct response and all of these things which have their place, everyone assumes that you need to think traffic in the direction of traffic, conversion, economics equals revenue, right? You think, start with traffic and then you move through the formula that way. But in reality, when you're planning, what's that?
He's telling Marty it's divide by zero. That's the equation for the, so I wrote this exact equation, and we can show this equation later, but Marty always gave me crap for, traffic time or pipeline times conversion times economics divided by operations. But I just initialed them all, and he said,
put O.
Divide by zero. He's like,
so it's like it eliminates everything. You're like,
eliminates everything.
Fucking, we're good here.
Simple.
That's the best.
Sorry, I cut you off.
So no, that's fine. That's funny. I didn't know that. But so when you're thinking strategic, so that's tactics, right? That's how you measure a marketing funnel, and that's completely legitimate. Yeah. The question that you asked, though, is a question of strategy. What should you be doing? Mm-hmm. Well, that's a question of thinking in the opposite direction of, you start with economics, like, what do I want out of this? Then how do I think about conversion in order to achieve those economics? And then where do those people reside? And what we find, like in a service business or something that's high ticket, is generally speaking, it means basically eliminating all of those mass market contacts, finding the small number of accounts that you're looking for, and then just figuring out how to build a relationship with them. So that's the premise of our entire business in a nutshell. But hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah. Is anybody
it's definitely a targeted approach.
I got lost. Were you saying something, Amin?
I think my connection isn't very stable. Just let me know if you can hear me.
Yep, you're good.
Yep, good.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to say, no, thank you. Like, that makes complete sense. Like, this goes back to something I've had in the past, which is you kind of just need a bit of permission to know that what you're doing is the right thing. And I've been following Joey and Tribe Prospecting's methodology for a while. And just in the background, I don't tell Joey about this because it's going to make his head go extremely big. So it really, really makes me happy to know that what we're doing is on the right path. So yeah, I really appreciate that. And to be honest, marketing on that level, where you focus on a few accounts, it's actually more enjoyable. I hate doing mass marketing. I feel like shit when I do it. So I hate doing it. It's boring.
Yeah. I think it's a lot more fun because at the end of the day, I think that having a relationship with your future clients, or even if they're not clients, like what comes out of a relationship is, even if they don't ever cut you a check, they refer you. or, you know, those type of things happen. And you can't get that in a mass outreach approach. You'll never get that ever.
Joey, can I add a couple things about
yes,
that?
please. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing that I'm learning too, putting this list together of possible, you know, people that I want to build relationships with companies. Like I used to race professional motocross, and so I want to start targeting more of like the motocross companies, like the bigger ones that are doing really well. But I'm quickly learning too in the research process is like, you know, okay, these are the guys I want to work with, but maybe I don't want to work with these guys, you know, because the research that I'm doing about the companies and even about the owners, like, I'm like, dude, I have nothing in common with this guy. Like, I don't even think I could reach out to him about anything. So I'm going to move on to the next one. So I think I've put together a list of probably 30 companies right now that I want to really reach out to. And then it's cool because once you kind of connect with one, once you make that first connection, like it's starting to kind of come together. Because what I'm noticing now is like, now I have mutual connections with a bunch of people at these companies that I want to work with. And I'm eliminating the company that I don't really want to work with after doing some research, getting to know them a little bit and who's running the company, what they stand for, you know, stuff like that. Because, you know, I'm kind of in the same boat. I run my company a certain way, and I kind of want to be cohesive with the guys who are running their companies, you know, the same way. Like, hey, dude, like, did you go riding this weekend? Like, it's super easy for me to talk to those guys that, you know, I can reach out to and eliminate the other ones that I know I'm not really going to have a good relationship with. So that's one thing that's kind of cool that Joey and team has been teaching me to do. So.
And what's really cool about all that too is, again, I talked about it earlier, if you guys weren't on, you know, though we focus a lot on acquisition, and acquisition is important, you know, in order to achieve what I'm about to talk about next, but we think retention is more important than acquisition. Once you obtain those clients, like the ability to keep them is far more profitable for your company than it is to lose them and then go replace them and then go find someone else to grow. And so what we found is, like, case in point, I have a really good relationship with all of my clients. Really good. I'll call them, they'll call me, we'll text, like those types of things. That doesn't scale. That's okay, because there's two ways to scale in this world, especially for, you know, high ticket businesses. And even like Marcus, you're in the private equity space, like having folks that you have a relationship with your investors who are in your fund, like they're always going to continue to re-up for the next fund whenever you have the payout, right? The best day to ask for their next investment is on the payout day, right? And so from a perspective of retention, a case in point, I had a meeting yesterday with one of our clients, and they will likely 4x their retainer with us and add a commission performance on top of that. We wouldn't have gotten there if we didn't develop trust, and we wouldn't develop trust if we didn't have the relationship. And on top of that, you got to deliver. I don't think anyone here has an issue with delivering, but I think if you can have that trust and that ability, you can have that candid conversation with them where it's like, hey, I won't say his name, but hey, you know, now is the time to step on the gas, and you trust me when I say that because we have a relationship here. So I think it's important to develop that trust way before they actually sign in the contract, and you can't develop the trust if you don't know them and express empathy. So I think, again, this is very elementary stuff, right? How do you develop friendships? You know, like this is just friendships with a suit on it kind of thing. I don't wear suits. I wear V-necks.
Yeah, but you know what, Joey? It's actually not that elementary because, like, I didn't think of it this way on the business side of things. You know, like I know how to talk to my buddies or guys that I like, or start up a conversation with anybody, but I didn't really get how to do that on the business side of things, and that's where I was struggling. And you guys have kind of teaching me how to do that, and it's easier than what I thought. It looked daunting from the beginning, and I'm like, dude, there's no, like, how can I do this playbook? There's no way I can do this. But as you just kind of go through it, you know, you start to realize that it's a lot easier, and you can be a normal human being and not some robot salesperson, right?
Right.
So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Jason. I was just gonna jump in here because I used to be a headhunter, so that was just like constantly calling and instantaneously developing rapport, creating relationships and friendships, which actually, you know, when you stop and you think about it, for me personally, was doing that. And then when I got into marketing, and then as a hobby, it was a well-paying hobby, then I turned it into an agency. The big thing was I could go back to the CMO, the CFO, the director of marketing that I got a job for years ago, and just bullshit with them like right away. Hey, what's going on? How are your kids? What kind of beer are you drinking? You want to go play some golf if they play golf? Whatever it was. And I think in sales, in my background, just from headhunting and recruiting, you have to get down into details. Like, and I applied this to sales in this stuff as well. So let me just give you a quick example. Like, one that I remember specifically was, I mean, this is a C-level person. I mean, the salary, you know, had multiple zeros and a 3 in front of it and a bonus that was 5 times that. So this wasn't like taking an executive from one spot and just moving them into a better, fancier office. You know, you do that day in and day out with accountants and other stuff, not to commoditize people, but that's ultimately what you do. But when you do the high level stuff, it's like they fly in, you have dinner, you're talking with them, you're working with them, you're hanging out with them. But then it becomes personal, because now they're saying, okay, I think this is the right opportunity for me. And you still have to sell here. Like, this isn't done. They're like, hey, the money's good. I'm ready to go. Let's talk other stuff, like my wife, my kids. Where are they going to go to school? How are we going to buy a house? What's the good neighborhoods? So doing a lot of that, which is a huge, long sales process, cycle, I should say. You're looking at like a 3-month at a minimum to closer to 6 to 8 months, almost a year when you take that level of an executive from one spot to another. You get to know them intimately. Shit you don't even want to know. But if you take that process of like, hey, this person, guy or girl, is going to be already coming in, we're kind of selling them through that process, but you're also learning little things. For me, it became natural. And I think it's a skill. Jason, when you were talking about, you know, hitting up the motocross people, same thing with me with beer and golf and outdoor space that we're in. It's just like, dude, this will be easy. You can go kill it, you know, talking to people in beer or golf, because that's what you think you know. Then you quickly realize, like, I don't ever want to talk to this jerk off again. Like, but you think like that's going to be your one, but you're not, you know, it's just not going to work. But the way you can accelerate through there is just getting the practice. And you guys might hate this thought, and I don't want to tread on anything. But the biggest thing is picking up the phone and starting to talk to people. Yep. And you can use this on your dummy accounts if you want. I would encourage you, if you're not comfortable with it. This is the time. I made 60 phone calls this morning, and I could not, I mean, I left messages. I have like 42 voicemails, because people are trapped. They need that human interaction. They want to talk to people. And those 60 people are people that I know, but some of them are people that worked with us in the past. I'm just saying, hey, I just want to check in on you. I know you were doing this on your own. And I know you're doing well, because things look good on everything. But I just want to see if you need any help. People die for that empathy, as Joey mentioned, in that interaction right now. I mean, and the last part I'll just say is, you know, I mentioned it early on, or just introduction. I'll never forget picking up the phone September 12th, Wednesday, 9 a.m. And you're like, what the hell do you say after September 11th? Like, what do you do? Right? Like, and it's just like, hey, I just want to call and check in. I know we were talking about this job. Just want to see if you're all right. Just want to make sure we'll keep you posted on everything. Everything cool? Of course not everything's not cool, but it's just talking to them at a level that you can start to create that rapport. And then once you can get over that, everything starts to move. And it's a little uncomfortable to get used to that, but once you do, it'll accelerate your sales tremendously.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. Thanks for that, Marty. I think we're in a world now with technology and automation, where we are quickly removing what's the most important part of doing business, and that's relationships, and that's humanity. As we see an increase in technology, we see a decrease in interaction and actual empathy in the sales process, or even in marketing. So I think it's important that we remember that. What was that? What is that?
All it is I have a pile of them. They're already stamped.
Oh, there you go.
It's just thank you cards.
Yeah.
So I started sending them out as soon as I had this inkling that stuff was going to happen. I have an assistant do it. I also use handwritten.com.
Yeah, with a Y.
Yep. So I just took the time and started writing them out, and I've just gotten emails and texts saying, "Hey, thanks for the card, appreciate it." Just to let you know, like, people want that right now. They want that. They want a hug.
It's doing the
Listen,
things.
man, I think people always want it, and it's been like a weird. I don't know when this happened. There's somebody probably has done like a sociology study on it or something like that, but I think we're in this weird period, and I would have said this even before all the current disruption, that it's historically unprecedented. We are in a time where being honest and real and having basic integrity and respect for somebody and building a relationship like actually is a competitive advantage, because everything else that's happening in technology and sort of like business best practices and all the talk about scale and all of that is fundamental. Like it's not bad on its face, but it's fundamentally inhuman, right? It's just cold and distant, and so people crave that. I think you're exactly right. Now more than they did 2 or 3 weeks ago, but even then I think it stood out. It was different, and people are people. They always want relationships, and they want respect and dignity. That's what it comes down to.
You know, Marty, like just what you said, like you just reminded me of something. Sorry to interrupt you, Joey.
No, go ahead.
But just what you said, I recommend, like, if anybody hasn't done it already, just reach out to everyone that you've kind of interacted with, or you're in business with, or your past, or your potential clients, and just call them or anything. Joey, can I just quickly share my screen just for 2 seconds?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you guys can see my screen, you'll probably be able to see that I've just got a whole bunch of emails here saying safe, fit, and healthy. And I just reached out to everyone. I just spent the time in the morning. It wasn't a mass outreach. It was individually me going to each individual one of them and just saying, I hope you're safe. I hope you're well. Take care of that app that we built for you, blah, blah, blah. And it goes up. I scroll, like I'm scrolling. I don't know how many emails I sent. But I've never had so many emails back from that many emails sent in one day, ever. And the amount of appreciation people are getting. And I think a lot of companies aren't doing it right now. So when it comes to these potential clients, who they're going to work with, they're going to work with you. We actually had someone, I'm not kidding, just on this call about 10 minutes ago, someone just left us a 5-star review on Trustpilot, and we haven't even worked with them yet, which is incredible.
That's funny. That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah. So I think like a lot of you guys probably came here tactfully. So I throw out the number of deals we've created in the past few years, the 1.3 billion number. And people usually come to us with they want the silver bullet, or they want the what's working now. And I think it's incredibly important to remember we didn't develop 1.3 by utilizing technology in a specific way that no one else is doing it. Or what we did different was we said, let's inject humanity back into the sales process and do it for our clients and do the things that don't scale. And that is what has produced the results. And so I think it's important to remember, like, we always look for the silver bullet and the things that work, but what works better than anything is just having straight up empathy. I mean, you're going to get tired of me saying it. I'm going to write a book about it. So I'm going to have to say it a ton more, but at the end of the day, that's what wins. I can't have a relationship with my wife that's healthy if I don't put myself in her position. If we're having a conflict over something, if I'm unable to sit in her position and understand what's important to her, why she's frustrated or upset or sad, whatever it might be, and I make her sad all the time. I'm the worst. But if I can't put myself in her position, like, there's no foundation that our relationship's built on. It won't last. And so I think business is no different. And sales specifically is no different. I think that it's incredibly important that we find a way to inject humanity back into the sales process, because if not, we're going to find ourselves floating down the river of finding the next silver bullet using the next best technology. Technology is great. It's just meant to be a vehicle, though. And so I think we put too much emphasis on the tactics and not so much on the insights. And I would say empathy and understanding falls under the insights. category. Sorry, Ian just texted me. I think Zoom kicked him out. Sorry, Ian. Okay, so I think we understand it. I don't have to keep going down that path. I want to dive more into, also Todd's here. Hey, Todd.
Hey, what's up, Joey? How's everybody doing today?
Glad you could join. Good. We already did intros, but you're the newest addition here. Tell us a little bit about what you do. Who you are, what you do.
Yeah, sure. Todd Mason. Live in Knoxville, where Joey's at as well. I work for a company called Ceasefire Business. We're a technology company. My role is sales, providing outsourced IT services and telecom to small to medium-sized businesses. We've got clients throughout the country, but I specifically focus in Tennessee and East Tennessee, to be specific, for the most part.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Juliet just asked, sorry, I'm looking at David's. David said, you just read my mind, just double checking. There are no silver bullets. Listen, things come and go. There are quote unquote things that work better than other things. You can call that a silver bullet. But I would say like we have a 79, or it might be more than that. You have to ask Ian, since I don't do operations. That's not my strong suit.
Hey, Joey.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I add something there, what you were chatting about? You kind of brought up, and I'm kind of carrying along the theme of what we've all been talking about here in relationships. And you kind of talked about, you know, in the industry I work in with investors and stuff like that. Like the biggest, you know, client you can really serve is the ones that you already have in our business, where like the investors, that you treat them well, you build the relationships, and, you know, you get them good returns, and then, oh, you have an exit, and then, you know, you have another deal come up or another fund. They're going to be the ones that you built that trust with, that they're going to look to re-up with you. So, and this was actually a conversation along the theme of what everyone's been saying here already, but like just this morning I had a call with my CEO and another colleague I work with, and my colleague is just like, yeah, yesterday I just, you know, just started calling our current investors, calling our clients. And I didn't even think of it. I didn't know he's doing it, but he brought it up to our CEO, and he's like, man, such a good idea. Perfect time to be doing that. And then we had a brief call after that. I'm like, well, what are you chatting about? Like, you know, what do you want to bring up on the points? Like, oh, the portfolio is doing good. Like, this is playing defense kind of thing, like saying everything's going to be all okay. And he's like, not so much. Like, I'm not really bringing that up. I'm really just kind of calling them and just saying like, hey, how's it going? Like, what's up? How's everything going and how is this thing affecting you? What are you doing in your business? And kind of just having that conversation and being empathetic, right? And he just said, like, some guys are just like so open to just having that conversation, where they're just like, you know, one guy, he's like, yeah, I literally laid off 40 people in the last week or so. Like, he runs a big car dealership, and just impacted. And he's sitting there and talking to him for an hour, talking about what's going on. And we're not talking about our portfolio. We're not talking about any type of investment opportunity or anything. It's just like, hey, like, how's it going? Like, just building that relationship and deepening that trust, because it really is, you know, my colleague, he actually worked in nonprofit fundraising in the past, and he always called it friend raising, because you're really just trying to, you know, build as many friendships as you can, because at the end of the day, you're trying to build relationships with people that, you know, that have that know, like, and trust relationship with you. So that's a big theme that I kind of, you know, heard you guys chatting about. So I wanted to add to that as well, because our CEO is just like, yeah, go for it, go blitz, and just call all our current investors and just kind of chat with them and build that relationship. And so, yeah.
That's cool. So I think even from an acquisition standpoint, well, I'll backtrack. The biggest opportunity you have, like Marcus just talked about, is with your current clients. I think it's finding those current clients that you have served really well and helping them double and triple down on how you can serve them. I mean, the meeting I had yesterday in Atlanta was entirely that, was identifying someone who can thrive even in this market, and going to him and saying, hey, here's the results we've done thus far. Obviously you already know that because we're friends. And we've been transparent, but, you know, outside of that, like, this is the time to put the foot on the gas. This is when people are at home. This is when people's calendars are cleared. This is when people are available. This is when you go gain market share. And so I think it's important that we take that, start with your clients first. I would again, like Marcus talked about, just chat with them, try to understand where they're at from a fear standpoint, from a whatever that might be, and just be there for them from that perspective. But then I think also try to identify opportunities within that that actually serve them. Like, don't do it just because it helps you make money and keep your company afloat. But that's from a retention standpoint and from a doubling down on those who are already winning. I think from an acquisition standpoint, this is straight tactical right now. If you define those dream clients you want to work with, and you create that list of your dream 100 or dream 500 or dream 25, whatever it might be. So we'll backtrack. We have one client who literally has 28 total companies he can sell to in the country. Very niche, extremely niche. And in the past 2 years, he's only gotten a meeting with 2 of them. In the past 3 months, we've gotten a meeting with 9 of them. And that's out of 29. So a third of his market, we got a meeting with within 90 days, essentially. How we did that was exactly what we're talking about. We did the deep intelligence work that it takes, that Jason talked about, as kind of it sucks, to dive deep into this thing. It sucks until you realize how effective it is. But it's you laying that foundation that is required for you to actually jump in. And sales is all about authority and trust. At the end of the day, if you don't have either one of those, ideally both of those, it's hard to make a high ticket sale like a lot of us are in that space. So it's going to be very difficult to get through and cut through the noise of everyone else in their inbox who's peppering them with pitches and offers and all these different things. How you cut through the noise is be a human. And you'd be surprised at how little and few people are doing what we do. And what we do is not complex. It's just intelligent, in my opinion. And so I think as you start to define dream client profile, the accounts that fit that, and then start working on the key decision makers, the key people within those accounts. So DCP, profile, accounts, the people within those accounts. And then after that, it's how do I address the people within those accounts at a person-to-person level, one-to-one. If you're already starting to think of how do I scale this, then you've already lost. In my opinion, there's 2 ways to scale. There's people plus technology equals scale. And then there's people plus price equals scale. And so for us, you can scale through automation or technology, or you can scale through being so valuable to your market that you can charge an absurdly higher amount than any of your competitors. That's how we grow as a company. That's how I would suggest anyone grow. It's more sustainable that way. Instead of being a transactional company that grows through the amount of volume of transactions, grow through the quality of people you have, or quality of clients you have, the amount of time you keep them for, and the amount that you charge them by the amount of value you deliver to them. So I think that's incredibly important to think through. Going after those larger accounts is scary for some folks, but I think that you'll learn that when you can build trust and authority, and you can do that through expressing empathy, those accounts become a lot less daunting. And you'll find that scaling is a lot easier, a lot more fun. It's a lot more fun to go after 15 accounts a month than it is to go after 300 to get the same results. Arguably less quality clients to go after the 300 because you're going to see who comes out the bottom. Okay. I've rambled a good bit. I want to address specific questions if people do have anything specific. Shoot, go for it. Actually, Juliet, you had something. So why don't we start there?
Okay, I have a question, and it's not exactly related to like what's going on right now, but since we're talking about sales, I wouldn't mind getting your opinion on this. So we do lead generation for franchise recruitment. So meaning franchises that want to find new people to buy a new franchise. So it's a big ticket item. It's a difficult, long, sell. It's a long sales cycle, et cetera. One of the biggest challenges that we face is that we do lead generation and we don't do the sales, which I am considering trying to build out something to like do the sales part so we have more control over everything. But for now, we depend on the clients to do the actual sales. And so what happens is we find a lot of clients don't have good salespeople, and they don't know how to do all the things you're talking about, like build relationships and like talk with people in a human way. A lot of them, like, they send out boilerplate messages, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a real problem in my industry because they come back and say it didn't work, and then they cancel and that kind of thing. So it's a real issue. And I think the solution, I kind of know the answer to this is that I got to like build out something to help people with the sales side. But I just wanted to know if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a common problem for when you say lead generation, is it PPC and just driving? Okay. So yeah, that's a common issue. I'll start on your end, how you can handle it going forward. There needs to be a qualification process on your end. One, I think you can charge a lot more premium if you have some sort of application process, if you will. An application doesn't mean someone has to legitimately fill out an application, but you need to have some criteria. I will not take on a client unless, and then you work through, I have a good understanding of your current salespeople's close rates or those type of things. When you have those numbers, you can actually help back into, what you can actually drive for them. And the benefit of that, this is also important, is have a frame of reference to say 90 days into the engagement, hey guys, you said you were closing at 25%. We've driven 10 leads, you've closed 0, or you've closed 1, which means you have a close rate of 10%. And so there's a disconnect here. And then they're going to say either, yeah, you're right, we're not doing as well as we thought, or they're going to blame it on you for the quality of lead. That's the name of the game. I'm in that business, right? The lead. We've essentially eliminated that entirely by the way that we do our engagements now and from a qualification standpoint. But I think it does come down to you having very, very well communicated expectations on the front end. And so you can even say hypothetically, you guys are closing 25%. That's at least what you communicate to me. What happens 90 days down the road and we've driven you X amount of leads and you're closing at 10%? And put it in their court. Like, what do we do? And then give them the option to say, well, we're going to close 25%. It's like, well, hypothetically, what if you don't? And then put it, continue to put the ball back in their court. And then you can give your suggestion. And I think this is actually a really high margin offer. Any of us can add to your current service company. A lot of agencies in here is either you teaming up with someone who can train them on this or you train them on this is, well, here's what I suggest we do. In 90 days, if we've driven X amount of leads and you're not closing at 25%, we're going to have an honest conversation about how we're going to move forward. And my suggestion at 90 days, and we're going to go ahead and put this in the calendar. Let's put this in the calendar now. In 90 days, let's check in. If we're not hitting 25% like you said you did, and I know that you're backing into your numbers based on a 25% close rate, I want to deliver at that rate. And if you're not able to close at 25%, then we need to have an honest conversation that says, hey, we're doing our part. You guys said that you can close at 25% and you're not. So there's a disconnect here. We can only be as good as you guys allow us to be. And so then it allows you to have an upsell opportunity at that point where it says in 90 days, we're gonna have a conversation and I'm going to tell you, you need to allow us to either train you on your close rate, or you guys need to somehow figure out, like you, Juliet, need to figure out how do you close the gap between the lead handoff and the closed contract. Because at the end of the day, that's always going to be the issue. The only way you get away from that is either better qualification process, or if you can actually handle the close yourself, or have someone internally that does.
Yeah,
that would be my initial. Say that again.
Yeah, I've definitely been thinking about like trying to have, some people that I can, bring on sort of on my team to help with that. And funny enough, like I've had I've had salespeople in this industry who have given us leads, like they've actually introduced us to the client. And my hope was like, wow, this is a salesperson specialized in this industry. So I could then now start referring them to my clients. And many of them have been horrible. And it's a tricky situation because I can't even like, I try to explain to them like how they're doing things wrong, but I also have to be careful because they referred the client to me.
Sure.
And it's just amazing. Like, in fact, the people who tend to be the best at it are their owners as opposed to salespeople. So anyhow, but I appreciate your suggestions. Those are some great ideas in terms of like screening a little more or at the beginning and setting. I've tried to set expectations, but I could probably do an even better job of that. And then like trying to find a solution with actually.
So
good
a couple of solutions you can do is partner with a sales recruiting firm or a sales trainer, or you house the closer internally. I would say the last one is the most challenging for you to do because it's additional overhead for you. You have to train them on every franchise that you're trying to sell for. I would say the ideal best margin for you is to partner with some recruiting firm that hires, knows how to go out and find really good salespeople, or a sales organization that knows how to train closers. And then I think that will help close the gap a little bit.
Yeah.
No matter what, lead generation companies will forever in the past have had this issue and will forever in the future have this issue.
Yeah.
Until they can figure out how to close the entire sales gap or the entire sales process. So I think there are ways to soften that. You're still going to run into that issue where people don't close at the rate that they thought they would close. So hopefully that's helpful, but I think there's a lot of options there. There's recruiting firms is like, hey, we're going to talk about the salesperson you have. And if they're not closing at the rate that you said that they can close at, then that's a salesperson problem, and we'll help you replace them. It's going to cost you, $15,000, and then you have a sales recruiting firm that'll do it for 10, and then you have a $5,000 upcharge and a better salesperson to work with that'll close your leads. That's an option. Or just have a firm that says, hey, your salesperson isn't closing. We're going to offer to train that salesperson to close these leads at a better rate.
Yeah, those are some great suggestions. And now that I have a lot more spare time, I can start looking for people to partner with like that. So thank you. That's really helpful.
Of course. That's great.
So one other thing that I would suggest there too is it's a strategically different angle, but if you can provide, because the one piece that even the salesperson doesn't control is the quality of the offer, right? Like if their franchise, if that particular franchise is not appealing relative to other franchises, to the same potential franchisee, no salesperson can overcome that problem. So if you have the ability to screen your clients better, but then you offer more services, so expand somehow the margins that you're creating or the total ticket so that, because you'll have less clients if you're working for only the best, franchise. But if you can somehow position to come up with an array of services that's more appealing, and then you solve your sales problem because they just fundamentally have a better offer, and so they close more, and now you don't have to deal with, the deal is probably structured differently, so there's like a lot of different variables in this.
Right.
But that's one potential way to sort of do an end run around the problem entirely.
Yeah, for sure. And I've definitely seen like the quality of our clients keep increasing. So that definitely makes my job easier.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. It's just such a common problem. I think you have a conversation with 10 lead generators and all 10 are going to have a similar issue.
Yeah, definitely.
Either that or they have a deliverability issue, and that's that's their fault.
Right.
So cool. Did we have another one? Yeah. David, you said, what if your ideal client only has a need once every 3 to 5 years? And when the need comes along, it may be too late. Are there any trust accelerants like targeting them with ads, promoting earned media, or building your ideal list around people with connected connections, former employees, etc.? Also curious about multi-stakeholder sales. Do you go after? Okay, cool. I'll start the first one. What if your ideal client has a need every 3 to 5 years? Yeah, that's an extremely relational buy. It also depends on, David, I don't know how sizable those companies are. I don't know, do you have any context you want to add to that? There's industries that might be helpful.
Sure. And so this is a client of mine that does, they do like legacy modernization. So they retool internal systems and software or build custom ERP type solutions. They know their ideal prospect. It's usually someone local to them that can meet with them multiple times. They've been trying to outsource software multiple times, and now they just realize they need to do everything either in-house or very local. And they need, really someone that could, bring, re-solution their business from the ground up. So there's hundreds of hours of interviews across the company and stuff like that. They're usually not the biggest companies, but let's say, 50 to 1,000 employees. And so I don't know if that's helpful or not, but those needs really don't come up very often. So like, even if you could find the ideal prospect and everything, like you could start building relationships today, but the only thing I could think of is like trying to preempt or predict problems. Like if there's a lot of negative reviews coming in, usually better software can solve about half those issues. But that's just an example. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that is a challenging sale because it's very cyclical, but it's not cyclical on a yearly basis. So I think it's hard to know when you land on that year. And it also comes with being top of mind. So though I'm a sales agency, I think that it's also important that from a top of mind standpoint, account-based doesn't just mean sales. Like account-based marketing also exists. Account-based marketing is running account-specific ads, and it's running account-specific content. And it's creating things that are very specific to that particular person. The hard part about 3 to 5 year sales cycles is if you build a relationship with the CMO and the CMO leaves, well, you're kind of up a creek. And so I think it's a combination of both. I think it's developing the relationship. The perfect situation is that you get in with the contact and you start kind of spreading your tentacles, if you will, and latching onto other relationships. Someone's going to be around. That's one, I would say. Now, is this one of you? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. To me, I'm hearing two critical pieces. Like this is a classic positioning really matters here, and it could be a sub brand or something like that. But they want to be, I don't even know the proper term, the ERP experts, right? That's what they want to be known as, or the ERP, like the legacy systems replacement experts in this niche, right? Like I think here in Central Florida, where I currently live, there is a plumbing company who has made its entire 20-year business on being the repipe experts, because there was 15 years where they were installing polybutylene pipes in all the houses that were built. And now if you buy a house, you can't get home insurance if it's got polybutylene piping in it. So literally this company, obviously they can do any kind of plumbing that you need, but their specialty is being known as the comprehensive, like the go-to company for completely replacing the plumbing in your house in a day, right? So it sounds like a similar thing where they would need to be known as that, because that's a not just once every 3 to 5 years, that's a one-time purchase. And they'll be out of business when all the polybutylene piping houses have had their pipes replaced, but they'll be fine. So this is a similar, I think, the positioning to be able to have that messaging in the market so that you get referrals, so that people who realize I have this problem come to you instead of somebody else. Frankly, that's just like a marketing kind of PR play. The second one, if you're going to do the second piece, if you're going to do any kind of account-based outreach or anything like that, you need some kind of leading indicator. So you mentioned potentially like online reviews being negative or something that might point to a problem. So some kind of assessment or some kind of way to scrape information, or to get some leading indicator of this might be someone who has a problem. Then you do the outreach and say, hey, what systems are you running, right? And then then you can start going down the relationship and the empathy-driven sales process of understanding what is your business problem, where does it come from, and then is replacing your legacy systems part of the solution to that. So I think if you get like those are two big things, but if you handle both of those or put some thought into both of those, that's with a sales cycle like that, I think that's probably your best bet.
Great. Can I share my screen for a second?
Yeah, please do.
I just not so relevant to this, but I thought it might be useful just for everybody to see something we did, just because you just reminded me of it. Let me know when you guys can see my screen. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
So one of the things I did is we scraped Clutch and pulled in all the reviews of, I'm happy to share this with people privately, but we could use any category that they have in there. So we could take media buying agencies, and then one of the questions they ask in their interviews is, how did you select this vendor? So we were trying to map the paths that other people said, how the projects came to be.
Oh yeah.
And how they started. So I don't know if this is useful to other people. I'm happy to share it, but you just reminded me, so I just wanted to show that if someone wants access, or if you have good ideas how to leverage this.
That's good intelligence work, I think. Being able to understand kind of why people make decisions. But I mean, there's also I'm not anti-technology. I'm not anti-tool. I want you guys to realize that. Yeah, there are things like intent-based software, they can identify intent. So, David, I know you probably knew that, but there's software out there that will give you prospects who are likely in a buying window because they have shown intent via Google search or whatever. So I think intent-based software does have a place. So don't hear that we're anti-technology. We use technology internally. And we're looking to increasingly so. Again, I just think the technology is an enabler. Whoops, sorry. It's meant to enable relationships. It's not meant to replace. I think that's just a really important nugget that we have to remember. Cool, that's a great question. The last one you said was, are there any trust accelerants? Oh, that kind of answered the original. I think, what's weird is you could do things that don't scale, like send them a gift that's important to them. As weird as it sounds, if you find out that they collect vintage lunchboxes, then go on eBay and spend $150 on a vintage lunchbox that they don't have. We did that. It was fun. It worked. Okay. All right. And then you said multi-stakeholder sales. Do you go after the big decision maker or target the different people at the target account? I think at the end of the day, I'm a top-down kind of guy. I just like to take my top off. Just kidding. Top-down meaning I go after the decision maker first and I work my way down. But I think that it's also important to simultaneously, we talked about going dream client profile, target accounts, key stakeholders or key decision makers. It's important to define all those people. A key decision maker or a key person could be their executive assistant. That's who the CEOs spend most of their days interacting with. I think if you have the ability to get in with them from a relational standpoint, like for instance, one of our clients goes after really large personal injury attorney firms. Marty knows who we're probably talking about. We have found a lot of access to these decision makers comes through treating the executive assistant like a human being, and send them a handwritten note, send them a gift, let them know that we appreciate them when they give us a piece of information that they probably didn't have to give us. So I think that would be a person on the list of 5 to 8 people that might be involved in the decision. I think it's important to create campaigns for all 8 of them. I would start from the top and then if that doesn't work, then start working other relationships. For instance, one of our clients goes after heavy equipment dealerships. And ideally, we start with the CEO or president. After that, we go to the COO or CFO, just depending on the size of the organization. After that, we go to more of the director of ops, and then it goes to facilities manager. We know who all those people are out the gate. And we start doing intelligence work on all of them. And we're going to start with the CEO and try to gain traction. And then if we can't, then we'll drop a level down. So that's how we do things. That's been fairly effective.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
It's it's important too to think like you order those people, prioritize those people depending on who's making the decision. So like in that case, the CEO is ultimately the one writing the check. And so he's the one that if we can start there having a business conversation, great. The facilities guy is going to answer all the technical information, but doesn't think about the business side of it. So he's not ultimately making the decision, but at some point we know the CEO is going to say, yeah, this makes business sense, but let me run it by my facilities guy because he might veto the whole thing because he thinks that the engineering is wrong. So if we already have a relationship with him, we know that from the get-go, we need to be working both of those. But it may be that you start with the lower level person because they're the one ultimately who's going to make the decision.
Right. That's a great question. Cool. Oh, Nick Nico's about to join. Only 2 hours late. Cool. What other questions we got? Any specific scenarios? Anybody? I'll start here. Does anybody feel like they're sinking and want to address specific things? I think that would be pretty valuable. What's up, Nick?
Sorry, I'm late, man.
No, you're good, man.
Got 2 kids at the house.
We've been waiting on you. I'm just kidding.
Right.
So any specific scenarios, you guys, that would be helpful to address now? Anyone sinking or have any specific scenario they want to work through? We can do that in live time. If not, let me check the chat too. I mean, we've already addressed a bunch of questions. So
I got a comment just on like living through a bunch of this shit in the past. Like right now is the lull because there's no defined time frame. Nobody really knows. So don't bank on if things are really good right now that they're going to stay really good, and don't bank on if things are really shitty for you right now that they're going to stay that way either.
Yep.
I think start putting in place just those reach out things that we've been talking about this whole time. But just right now is like last week, everybody got in their little coma, did whatever, and hung out and tried to figure out what the heck was going on. This week, people are a little bit more active. I had a great call just before this one for a security system company, and it's pretty big. That's really never been online, which is pretty interesting. But they need to go virtual because they scope out the entire office building or whatever they're securing. So it's like a little bit of a shift. Sunday morning, I was on a call with a lawyer friend of mine who needed to be able to set up virtual appointments. Just turn them over to a web designer and got that set up on his website. He didn't really care what it cost. He just needed it right away. Like, what's the easiest way somebody can contact me? So you have to, what I'm saying is, in this lull, if things are good, don't bank on it being perfect. It's going to be bumpy. It's going to be really bumpy. People are spending money. That's what they do in times like this. It's a comfort thing. I remember, one of the things I did after 9/11 is I spent like $1,500 just because I felt like I had to. Because if I spend money, the economy will move. And people have that mentality, and it skews numbers. Is what you're seeing. But that's going to be okay. It'll settle out, and it's going to be good. I don't see this being a long-term thing. I think kind of like that whip that comes at the back, you might see some people really assess some things come June, July, going into the second half of the year that could impact your business. So those are just a few comments I just wanted to throw in there.
Yeah, that's good. That's helpful. Nick, what are you seeing from a real estate perspective? If you're still around. Yeah, you're on mute, by the way.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I've been on a few Zoom calls for the last couple of days. Honestly, a lot of younger agents are freaking out, obviously. I was fortunate to come in during the last recession. I think we're just kind of waiting to see if fear and panic take over buyers. I mean, showings have dropped dramatically. I think I've got a chart I looked up today. So I think my hope is in the next 2 weeks that all changes. I think right now it's just with kids being at home, people have to adapt to being at home with their family. A lot of husbands that are usually out of the house like myself. being home. You know, when we kind of settle in, I believe that's going to shift things back to now. Okay, this is not a new normal, but we're in a rhythm, if you will. But right now, you know, like my wife, she doesn't want me around people because obviously, you know, kids and things like that. So once we get a better, I guess, a better understanding of it. One of the things I think as a final thought is, I think the recession, this economically might be worse than a recession over time, but I think we're a lot smarter a society than we were when the recession hit. I mean, the shit hit the fan. Banks were taking houses back. They weren't wanting to work with people. And what we're seeing now is, you know, banks are freezing mortgage payments. You know, everybody globally is working together, which I think is a testimony to the human race, obviously. And
that's right.
I think in the end, that's going to help everybody win. But just like I think it was you, Marty, that just said, you know, I mean, people will spend money, and I think probably won't see it this week or next week, but in the end, people will spend money. Just they're going to reallocate it somewhere, and people are going to get rich. Some people are going to lose everything, but I think less than we did in the recession. Those are my thoughts.
Is there a way to be fairly innovative in the real estate space that benefits you, but also benefits? Are you more on the buyer side, like the representation side, or more on the seller side?
I've got a team, so we do a lot of heavy listings, and then we've got a ton of buyers agents. I don't work with a lot of buyers personally, but my buyer agents are somewhat freaking out. But they're all young and 2 to 3 years in the business, so you know, I just have to every day get on the Zoom call, motivate them, and try to keep them.
Yeah, they're freaking out across every industry.
Yeah.
Can I jump in on the real estate side, just because I work with a realtor that's got about 470 offices across the country. They said, first of all, in certain municipalities, you can't even get a certificate of occupancy. So you can't even close even if people wanted to buy. So like Bergen County as an example, and they don't know how long that's going to happen. They have to lower the hours of their call center, which is based in New Jersey. And we had our budget so far cut about 40% mid-month, and this is busy season. And they are looking at it state by state though, because different parts of the country are behaving differently. But there's no question that, I mean, we see just impression share and impressions. I mean, overall impressions dropped year over year. And we track this stuff really closely. So there's no question this is going to have ripple effects, but they'll always be buyers. They said they're just getting lots of lowball calls right now. Everybody, you know, assuming that the market crashed already, even though it hasn't. But that's at least what I'm seeing with my clients. But they are panicking to some degree.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's common. I think there's folks who see opportunity and folks who panic in these times. And sometimes the panic is totally understandable and it makes sense. And then sometimes that panic also covers up the possible opportunity. So I think just as we kind of wrap up, we're coming up on 5 o'clock Eastern. One, and from an announcement standpoint, like we would like to continue to do this on a weekly basis, just as like an open office, come in with ideas, comments, questions, concerns. And then let's just as a group try to tackle it on a weekly basis. You know, we're here for you guys in however way we can, or in whichever way we can. And even just to be a sounding board. And, you know, it sounds like even the first hour of this, there's a couple potential relationships that already got set up, which is cool. I love seeing that. So outside of that, I think if you have specific questions, you know, you have my email address, obviously drop me an email. I was really smart and decided to use my personal email address or my company email address as my list email address. So you guys have my personal, so just drop me a line, whatever. And then outside of that, I think just in recap, I think this is the time, guys, to double down on the relationship side of sales and marketing, where as we develop relationships, the leverage that comes in relationships is incredible. And then when we come out of this recession or whatever this might be, when you have those things intact and you've deployed empathy in those relationships, when, you know, they maybe weren't a buyer, like your business is going to slingshot. And so that's one thing we're banking on too, is one, double down on the clients you have, and two, create those new relationships with the prospects you have, and do the things that don't scale. Go out of your way to make that phone call. Go out of your way to send that gift that's important to them, with no strings attached. And business is going to come of that even in these hard times, but even more so when we start coming out of this. It's a time to create that organization that, you know, is 3 to 5 times bigger than it is today. So if you guys don't have anything specific, questions or comments and concerns, you know, we can wrap it up for this week and then get another one going. I'll send out another email for next week.
Sorry I was late. Look forward to getting to know some of you guys on the next call.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. Honestly, I got some golden nuggets today, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Good. Feel free to drop us emails.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Cool, guys.
Yeah, I really appreciate hearing everyone's thoughts. It was very good. Thank you.
Good. Love it.
Thanks for making me have a beer in the afternoon.
You're welcome. I'm always here for you, Marty.
Thank you, Joey. See you guys.
Cool. Thanks all.
Take
See
care.
y'all.
See ya. Thanks, Joey.